This is a London plane, which is a terribly common London street tree. This one is a bit bigger, a bit more massive than most. It's reckoned to be about 200 years old, and I don't know how tall it was. It's extraordinarily large. We're in a vicarage garden at the moment here. So a tree surgeon noticed that there was a bit of rot in the base of the stump. This tree is close enough to the pavement, close enough to a fairly major road, close enough to a very beautiful church and a vicarage that if it had come down, it would have caused absolute mayhem. So quite rightly, they've done the correct thing, and for health and safety purposes, the tree had to come down. The contractors had begun slicing the log like salami. I got in touch with the vicar, and he and the diocese called off the contractors. So the immediate danger of losing the tree entirely and losing all this potentially incredibly beautiful and valuable timber to the chipper or to the wood stove had gone. The next stage, of course, was to actually work out what on earth we could do with it. It's all very well thinking as a cabinet maker. This is beautiful wood. Plane produces what's called lace wood, which is this fantastic mottled effect when you saw it in a particular way called quarter sawing. I then had to begin thinking and spend a few weeks thinking about how on earth we were going to convert this log that had come down right in the middle of London, near a busy road, with a narrow driveway, into planks. We had a log here of really unusual size because it's about 200 years old. It's about, the diameter of the trunk was about 5 or 6 feet, or about 1.6 meters across. It's absolutely enormous. And we calculated the weight, it's about 10 tons. How you would get a 10-ton log from Herne Hill in the middle of London to a sawmill out in the countryside was almost a completely insurmountable problem. We finally managed to track down John Hughes, who's doing the work here now, who owns something called a Lucas mill, which is a different type of mill, a different type of saw to a chainsaw. A chainsaw would just slice the log across, what you call through and through sawing, so that you end up with several wide boards, the whole diameter of the log from one side to the other. But as I said, the problem there is that the chainsaw would find it extraordinarily difficult to deal with a log this size. John's mill is much cleverer than that. It's got a saw on a heavy-duty motor, and the way this saw works is that it will cut horizontally across the mill to about just over an 8-inch width, and then you flip it round so it cuts vertically. We can do this vertical first and horizontal next. It'll cut vertically down through the piece that you've sawn horizontally already, and produce beautiful square-edged sawn boards to absolutely regular sizes and shapes, which for a cabinet maker or a joiner is fantastic. It's a great boon already. They'll work out at about just over 200 millimeters wide, which is a good workable width for a cabinet maker. It means we've got tremendous control over the sawing as well, that we can produce more using John's Lucas mill. We can produce more of these so-called quarter sawn, when you'll get loads and loads of this lace wood effect, producing much more valuable and much more attractive timber. But this is something that we're doing it right here in the middle of London. Potentially anybody out in a woodland can do this, either with a chainsaw mill or with a Lucas mill like this. And very effectively, very efficiently and very economically convert a massive tree like that, which otherwise looked too enormous to use, into usable boards. Now I've got to go and help.